We've already been through all the good shit this year.
Yeah.
Bellacore, Portal of Eye,
Winter Sun.
Almighty Meshuggah. There's no way we're gonna find anything else. The fuck is this?
What the fuck?
It's
It's gonna,
tribal head dude. That is the dumbest album art I've ever seen.
it's gonna
suck.
It's gonna suck. Why do you even bother?
Just click Flying Seeds. Just want to hear that because that's such a silly name. The fuck? We were wrong.
Completely.
We were wrong about that. We were wrong about that. We were wrong about that. No, we said it was gonna suck. We were wrong. It was awesome,
To say the least.
Okay. That album. Don't get put off by the really awkward album art of like this tribal dude wearing a helmet and the band cheesily being put on the helmet and the album title being on this wooden bone necklace thing. Kälter's Ubuntu album is an absolute crazy fucking masterpiece of progressive, symphonic, melodic death metal. Those are just some of the elements of their
Just
sound.
some.
We'll get into the others, but let's go ahead and start the track by track. Click this thing. If you want to skip the track by track and go to the whole album review as a whole. Okay, you know the drill. Okay, so the first track called Intuition starts, and really the first 15 seconds, all they are is like nature sounds. But that pretty much gives you a look into what this whole album's going to be doing, like the progressive side, because 15 seconds of nature sounds is what started off one of the greatest progressive rock albums of all time, Close to the Edge. So there you go. And there's this amazingly well-written folk metal riff that comes after that, and some guitar sweeping, and then just the song just has a lot of really good, well-placed elements like that. And then another thing I want to touch on about this song and the whole album really quickly is the lyrics. Now, to a lot of people, the lyrics might turn them off. That might be the cheesy aspect that they're looking for in this album, because people are always finding something to gripe with when they listen to an album.
Especially an obscure one.
Yeah, like this one. But with this, for me, the lyrics really spoke to me. There's this part at the end I want to go ahead and touch on. So much to be, so much to live for, despite the fear and misunderstanding. My inner guidance carries me away in the flow of life. I now discover life through all its forms. That spoke to me because I've been having like issues with the futility of my own purpose and stuff like that recently. Not too recently, but when I heard that, all of that just melted away for a while, and it was just, it just had, this whole album has a positive message in the end, which is rare on a metal record, and it's rare that it's done well. It's done well here. It's just like all about enlightenment and how to follow your heart, and it's amazing. It's catchy and memorable and proggy as fuck. And then one more thing. There are two more things. There's two more things we have to touch on about this song. There's a godly section 4 minutes in, where there's like a melody that's introduced and then it drops out. And
Pokemart.
if you've ever played the handheld Pokemon games, you
And you
know
should
this. Yes, you should have. That you don't have a childhood if you haven't played those games. If you've ever like gone to like the towns and like understand what the music from those game series sound like, you'll understand kind of what the Pokemon Mart sounds like, where you buy Pokeballs and stuff like that. There's that for a whole little section of this song, in this song. And it's ridiculously well implemented. It doesn't sound out of place at all, which is ridiculously cool. And then after that there's one of the best chord progressions I've ever heard in my life. You'll hear it when you get to it. Like, when you go listen to this album, you'll hear it.
Mm-hmm. It's like 6 minutes in, right? I think.
Yeah, and what do you think? Like, is there anything else I missed?
No, that's pretty much the song in a nutshell.
It's godly. Go listen to
godly.
it. And then the next song is the one I first listened to, that we first listened to. It's called Flying Seeds. It's not quite as good as Intuitions, because its standout moments don't stand out quite as much, you know. But it's still a masterpiece. It's heavy, it's melodic, it's soaring in its majesty. And amidst the majesty, some of the keyboard lines, they get a bit more playful at points in this part. There's even one part, I didn't notice this until you picked up on it a while back. But
Sonic.
there's a part, like, about a minute and a half that, like, there are video game-esque things in this song. I mean, this album.
Yeah.
There are video game hearkening melodies, which is fucking cool, yeah.
Don't know if it's intentional, but we noticed
Yeah, it might not be intentional, but a couple of video game nerds here totally noticed it. And there's some great riffage at 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and then some great lead guitar shredding at 3 minutes, and a little while after that is a very standout point for me. Everything drops out, and the organ line and the guitar line just go full fucking Ghost Reveries. Which is like an Opeth album that's kind of at the lower spectrum, surprisingly, of albums that I like by them. But, oh my god, this section works so well. And all the melodies that follow are just fucking amazing, memorable as hell. I can't describe all of them. Fantastic song, but it leads into a song that's almost better than both of these two combined. Remember, and it's stylized.
Remember twice.
Remember, yeah. Capital R-E, capital M, member, basically. The first minute is the best part of this whole song for me, because the best way I can describe it, the first minute of Remember, is, for any of you who've listened to the band Zerath, and
you should have.
the band Between the Buried and Me, I can play a couple song clips really quick of both those bands. Most of you probably heard Between the Buried and Me, but... Okay, imagine those two styles blended seamlessly and perfectly and orgasmically. That's the first minute of this song. It's fucking so good, but yeah. It's not the only good part of this song. There are other great riffs and just incredible interplay between the instruments with grooving melodies that alternate with the orchestra and video gamey sections like we've already heard. Like, there's a couple melodies in this song that remind me a bit of a video game called Klonoa, which a lot of you probably haven't heard of. But there's a lot of melodies in here, or a couple at least, that remind me of that. Hell, the solo to Vortex Omnivium reminded me of that game for some fucking reason. I don't know. Have you ever played Klonoa?
No.
Yeah, anyway. Moving right along, there's the first clean vocal section on this album also pops up here, and it's totally Michael Akerfeldt.
Yeah.
It's fucking so cool. There's, like, great amounts of Opethianisms here. Like, if you're someone who has a musical palette and who listens to a lot of bands, you'll hear a lot of different band styles on this album, which is fucking fantastic. And there's another godly chord progression at about 9 minutes in that's not quite as good as the Intuitions one, but it's still godly. And then the song ends with what would seemingly be the most perfect thing live. The only live track they've been playing off this album is Flying Seeds, but they need to play this song live, because it's like, you are the tribe we are. And in context with the lyrics around it, it totally doesn't sound cheesy like you might think. Some people might think it is, but this is just ridiculously powerful, the message behind it. And then there's Reflections. Now this one's a... What? Yeah, with an X. Reflexions. This one's basically like Xanthocroid had the kind of pattern of going to a heavy song, going to a more ambient song, and so on. Keep going with that. but this really feels like a great interlude for the whole album. It's got more of a focus on folky and prog rock stylings with some of the best interplay on the whole album, except for the main song after this that I'll get into. Oh God. But yeah, most of the first half of this song doesn't have distorted guitars. There's a lot of acoustic guitar here, and it kind of makes it easier to hear stuff like the bass and some of the orchestration things in the background, which is cool, so you can hear everything at once, unlike on Time, where you can't hear every single little detail.
Well, there it's impossible to.
Yeah, it's fucking impossible to. But it's really cool being able to hear some of that stuff here, because while it's mixed well, this album's mixed well, like, the guitars are really loud, which I like, but still. When the guitars and orchestra kick back in, it gets kick-ass. And a lot of the piano lines in Reflections also remind me of Symphony X, which is also a great thing. Next, we get an interlude that I don't remember the name of.
Yeah, what was it called?
I don't know. But it's basically the intro. It's an interlude that leads into the next song called Tribulation. Holy fuck.
11 minutes.
Yeah, 11-minute song. And then it's followed by... Tribulation's followed by a song that, with both parts of it together, it's split into 2 parts. It goes at like 12 and a half minutes, which is fucking ridiculous. Oh, I also noticed something.
What?
Like, when you combine the intro before Tribulation to Tribulation and both parts of Rhythm of Passion, which is the song after Tribulation, they're both like exactly 12 minutes and 39 seconds. Which is cool. I think that might have been intentional, but I might be wrong. But anyway, about the interlude, the intro to Tribulation. It's really short, almost about a minute long. It focuses on more of the tribal elements for the first time. So when someone first pops in this album, I can imagine them thinking, like, what the fuck? This is more like proggy and geeky and synthy than it is like tribal based on the cover, but you get that here. You really get that. And then, like, a lot of the orchestrations, I mentioned that this is a symphonic record. You feel like you're immersed in a full orchestra once you get to this in the beginning of Tribulation, which is incredible, because once Tribulation kicks in, it starts off with a guitar riff, and then the orchestration is backing it with these ridiculously powerful, like, choir and brass attacks on your ears. This just loud, blasting epicness. This is the kind of stuff I dream of being able to write. It's ridiculously good. And like I said, this song has some of the best interplay, and I think the best vocal performance on the album too. Like, the death growls are lower and more aggressive, and the lyrics are great. Like, there's a part in the middle I remember, like, we are erupting from the volcano of life. That's fucking amazing as shit. Basically, all the positive things I've said about this album are at their peak on this song. This is my favorite song on the record. And yeah. The chorus here is easily the best on the entire album. Like, the chorus section. Because, for one thing, the only choruses in this album are in this song and Rhythm of Passion Part 1. I easily prefer this one, but the song structures on here are really so good that they don't even need choruses. And 4.5 minutes. There's a certain song that was actually the first song of the first review that I ever posted on this channel. And to this day, it remains to me one of the greatest metal songs, I think.
Which was that?
I have ever heard. I Am Colossus.
Oh, that's your first review, right, yeah.
Yeah. You weren't there quite yet.
No.
But, because it's tribal, it's got tribal drums, it's got the fucking grooving-ass low same note, and there's, like, spoken word, like, a rallying leader of the tribe is shouting over this section, and it's just so powerful, and the message is... This is another part that might be misconceived as cheesy by some, but I just think it's fucking epic as hell. I eargasm every time. And after that is probably the longest quiet section on the album. That's just
Sounds like a fire going.
a fire going.
You're talking about the part where it goes like doon, 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 a little very quiet part, right?
The big quiet part after the I Am Colossus part.
I'm trying to remember the order it goes in.
Yeah, because the thing about this is Kälter use a very non-conventional sort of song structure. So, like, the first one or two times you listen to it, you may not be able to remember everything, but if you really like this album, you'll eventually remember, like, almost every section of it. Of at least the songs that you like. For me, it's all of them. But this quiet part after the I Am Colossus section is just, it's gorgeous. It's like the whole album, you're on this journey to find enlightenment, and then when you hear the strings and piano and the interplay between all the instruments in this beautifully written section, it's like you found it. It's like, oh. And then the chorus kicks back in, and it's obviously fucking amazing. Like, I can't describe it. Go listen to it. And then it leads eventually into the first part of the last two tracks on the album, which combined,
Go together.
They go together and make up a 12-minute song, and it's called Rhythm of Passion. And this is probably my least favorite track on the whole album. Like, I love it, but I don't listen to it anywhere near as much as the other ones. But this is one of Andy's favorite tracks on the album, so I'm going to let him elaborate on it a bit.
Yeah.
So, like, starting with part one.
Yeah, part one. It starts off with a gigantic orchestra kind of thing.
Yeah, mostly focusing on the choir. I remember that. The choirs are huge at the beginning of this song.
Yeah, and it's just that goes on for about a minute. Then it goes into like a tremolo riff, which I really like the tremolo riff part. Then there's the chorus, which basically
it's like more of a harsh scream, if I remember right?
Yeah, it's not like a death growl.
It's not like the clean singing that he does on the previous singing sections. It's more of a aggressive scream, like James Hetfield from Metallica in the chorus here.
Yeah, and pretty much it's just they just say the title of the song, and then I mean that's not.
Yeah, it's. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as the Tribulation chorus, though.
No.
But I also want to say about this song, a lot of the instrumentation to me feels a lot like when you get to the tribal parts anyway, and the parts that are more progressive and blend styles and stuff. A lot of this makes me feel like a feel from like Cirque du Soleil, the music that's written for that, because it's also really tribal at points and influenced by different genres like Brazilian music and just music from all around the world, like music from France and things like that.
And they're both
really
Canadian.
Cool. Yeah, so yeah, Kälter is a French-Canadian band, so that makes sense.
Just like Cirque, so.
Yeah. But then, yeah, the whole rest of the song is great. Probably still my least favorite part of the whole album is these two songs, even though they make up 12 minutes. But they're still... That's not saying they're bad. They're really fucking good. It's just all the best this album had to offer, kind of like with Xanthocroid, has already been done for me. So then part two starts, and oh my god. It's kind of like...
It has a djent riff to begin with.
It's not really...
Not really.
I don't think it's really djent, more like just a modern metal riff.
Yeah,
like,
I guess you can say that. Technical death, maybe.
Yeah, it's more of a modern technical metal riff. And it goes into this really cool, I don't know how to describe it, like power metal shredding kind of thing. It's, ugh. And then that riff comes back, like the first riff of part two, and it becomes patriotic in a way.
It kind of, for some reason, it kind of reminds me of when you're out at a baseball
It's cool
game.
how much this album does. We're ranting about this for like, what, 20 minutes? Go listen to the album.
Yeah.
Just shut us up. But this song's great, and you'd think that. Oh, another thing I remember about it. Once you get to the very end, when there's like a minute left, and you're like, wait, the album hasn't started fading out or closing yet. How could it end well? It does. I don't know how it does it, but the last minute of this album is an incredible end to this album. And this whole album is just incredible. There's time signature switches, like, oh, by the way, album is a whole time.
Right.
There's, like, amazing progressive time signature switches that I love. When I say unpredictable melodies in music, like Obsidian Gate or like Xanthocroid or things like that, they're really fantastic here. The lyrics are also fantastic with a really powerful message. Ridiculously good musicianship. Love the orchestra. And also the mix is fantastic. It's like, to me, like, this is a perfect blend with like orchestral presence and guitar presence. Those are like perfectly balanced out. And every single member of this band is so talented that it hurts my brain. My brain feels like exploding from it. Like, yeah. This band, as far as this band's genre goes, because it has a lot of sides to it, as we've said, I feel it would be an insult to this band to just call them melodic death metal and not progressive melodic death metal, because they just put so much heart and soul into the playing on this album. It's melodic, it's heavy, it's got influences from all over the fucking place.
Literally
all
from
sorts
everywhere.
of different bands and styles of music and video game soundtracks. It's just, all of that's evident here. It's fucking ridiculous.
Hold on a sec.
Speaking of Pokemon music.
Sorry about that. That was, well...
His phone.
Yeah, it doesn't... Yeah.
It does Pokemon music, but that was, like, play it again really quickly. Like, when we say Pokemon music for that one section of Intuitions, like... I give this album a 9.5 out of 10. What about you?
Same.
Bye.
Bye.